it is now time to move on to part 3. I'm sure you're very excited that the project is due this week. So just to review, I'm going to pull up the documents again. So we pull in the week 5, you have all of the documents you need. The report template, we've already gone through. The introduction, and part 2, the table and scatter plot. And now we're going to look at part 3, the linear model. And then later on we will look at 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Just a reminder again, here is the worksheet. So here are the data sets you're looking at. This is one data set. Then you have the baseball pitching, those of you interested in baseball. And I do love seeing projects that move past the first one. I get mostly the first one, so it's nice to see something different. Compare the SAT scores to people who are good at math as good at critical reading. McDonald's, calories versus carbs. That's kind of a hot topic, carbs and calories, so many fun things. But remember, these are your data sets that you're going to take and put into Desmos. So as we're heading into part 3, I actually did want to keep the project template up so we could just go over that. So if we're heading into part 3, we're going to, so you already have done your scatter plot, you've already talked about it and what you think is going to happen, and that's all back in the week 2 announcement. Pretty sure that's where I put it. And so here, number 3, we're going to find a linear model. So we've done all of this. We have this beautiful little scatter plot. Ignore my line here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to choose 2 points to come up with an equation of a line. Similar to what you did on the discussion board last week. You chose 2 points from that data set and you came up with the equation of a line. So we're talking about, we've seen how this is kind of a downward trend for this example, which is not one of your choices. So I could theoretically choose this point, and then I'd end up with a line that goes up. So try to choose points that match, but honestly, the assignment does not require that. So you can compare and do something crazy, or you can do a couple of them. So I chose a couple of points. You can usually tell which points because my line goes right through it. So here is my work. So I started with part 3, and I'm going to calculate a linear model by hand. So I choose 2 points. I'm going to find the slope. I'm going to find the b or the y-intercept, and then I'm going to write my equation of the line. Now, if you do not want to type that up, that's fine. For this project, I see both. I see students handwrite it and then take a screenshot and insert it, but make sure it's inserted into your project. I don't want extra files floating around. So we're going to have one file, so you're going to put it right in here. If it's handwritten or done typed, either way is fine. Then the next bullet point asks us to include a screenshot of your linear model graphed in Desmos. So it wants the line. So I went ahead and I have my data set, and then I added my equation of a line. I've noticed a couple of people, when they're graphing a Desmos, start putting numbers in for x. You have to leave x. So put your slope and put your y-intercept in. That's how you will get the correct line. And remember, then you're going to take a screenshot. First, I'm going to put it right here. So I'm going to make myself some space to copy and paste it right in there. If you haven't learned how to do a screenshot yet, now is a great time to learn how to do that if you didn't do it for the discussion board. I do have a Mac, so I'm not going to go into those details because I have some shortcuts and see if I can get that in there just right. So then you can put it right into your project. So it's going to be beautiful. You're going to have a project that's going to have graphs. It's going to have scatter plots. It's just going to look so professional and so exciting. I think it's really fun to see what you can actually do with just a few little tools. Then part 3, you're going to identify the slope. Even on the test I was grading, it said identify the slope and intercept. And I didn't always get you to clearly state what that is. So make sure you clearly state, here's the slope. Here's the y-intercept. And what does it mean? It's great to be able to tell me the slope is 4, but if you have no idea what that means, that's not as helpful. So here, if my slope is negative, that means that it's decreasing. But what's decreasing? The amount of snowfall over time. So remember, slope is rise over run, y is over x's. So the y here is the snowfall, the x here is time. So the snowfall is decreasing over time. And it's not decreasing significantly. I mean, that would be crazy if the snowfall was decreasing by inches every year. So it's a small number. And then the y-intercept, if you go in and calculate it, and this I had to calculate what was in my equation, but it was 37.4, so that means when x is 0, so at time 0, since these are in years 19, this would be 0 BC. We're talking over 2,000 years ago, roughly 0 time, then there would have been, where's my y-intercept? 37 inches of snow. And then the other one was the x-intercept. I calculated, plug in 0 for y and solved for x, was 2022-ish. And that would mean that there would be 0 inches of snowfall. And interestingly, if you go back and study, I have a sister who lives in Utah, and they were having horrible droughts until that big snowfall of 2022. So right before then, it was getting closer to that. So last year was an anomaly, but thankfully, because it was getting closer and closer to 0. And then the last little dot asks us, how does this fit? Look at it. Does this fit pretty well? I mean, now if we go and look at 2022, it doesn't even fit at all closely. But we want to look overall. Are several of the dots close to the line? I mean, some are way down here. Now, no, I chose 2 random dots. If I had chosen 2 different random dots, like if I had chosen these ones, it would be very different. So choose whichever 2 you want, and then as we head into parts 4 and 5, we're going to do something a little more interesting. But just for part 3, we're just going to calculate the linear model. We're going to take a screenshot of it graphed with the scatter plots. No, hopefully you didn't get rid of your scatter plot yet. Find the slope, x-intercept, y-intercept, and say what they mean. Remember that y's are which unit and x's are which unit, and use those words in there. And then talk about how it looks. And that would be part number 3, and then we'll head into the rest later.